imperialism. So maybe you could share some thoughts around those sorts of questions in terms of what you think we should do moving forward in terms of responding or adding and contributing to these discussions. Please go ahead.
Thanks, and it's just echoing what everyone said. It's just great to be in this space, great to have like this kind of discussion at this important time as we build up to the COP discussions in just over a month away now. So I think from my perspective, we need an economy that delivers reparations in terms of tools, mechanisms and models to achieve fairer, equitable redistribution and dismantling of wealth, along with a reversal of power. And they're key features of what we would want to see in an ideal Green New Deal. And I think the current way that, you know, a lot of the framing has been kind of put together, I do think that the language has been kind of, you know, it kind of reflects the kind of current model and kind of change within the current system. And I think that it's kind of, you know, part of kind of the policy machine, or the kind of way in which policy is, you know, used as this kind of marginal change kind of mechanism. And I think that what would be really inspiring would be to really think about the idea and recognize the reality that the majority, you know, global majority of people are not responsible for climate change and should be compensated for the damage climate change has on their lives and livelihoods. And actually the countries that most urgently need to adapt are faced with intellectual property restrictions and all of the unequal power dynamics around open access technology, which is biased against them. So really, actually, there is it's a profound interconnected social and ecological crisis, and it requires therefore profound transformation at all levels. So whilst I think the Green New Deal is you know, brilliant in kind of collating a lot of the energy, it's really missing a dialogue that's really important on reparations. And although, you know, the kind of popularization of climate justice at this time about inequitable outcomes for different people and different places and the vulnerability to climate impacts, I think that has definitely, you know, been rooted in this Green New Deal. But I think the idea of climate change and colonialism, the structural practice of where countries have exploited and taken the power of other countries, and we usually typify that as global north to global south, if those constructs even work. I think that's really difficult still, because it still misses the nuance of repair and restore and kind of put at the heart people's lives and how they are real life affected, like what the real life dynamics are. So I think that there is still a lot to go in terms of kind of really thinking about some of the movements for reparations that are there all across the world, that are fighting for change across different climate disasters, and that are fighting against big multinationals, big government deals, big land deals, and why the language of that kind of repair and restore kind of framework hasn't yet made it and hasn't become center stage in a deal that is there to kind of you know, supposedly redistribute and equitably tackle the biggest crisis we're facing right now.
Thank you, Priya. Thanks. Focusing on reparations and repair and restoring is something that, you know, we often tend to have quite a long list of things, and then there's reparations at the end. And you know, maybe we need to start with the reparations and then do the rest of the list and be like, you know, if we really want to turn this on its head, why don't we start with reparations and all the things before we talk about tax or anything else, to also talk about the principle in terms of what this represents in how we are all in our different locations relating to what a Green New Deal is supposed to mean in a relational perspective, north, south, from gender perspectives and capital, labor, etc. But I'll ask Gabriela, bringing the perspective from Brazil. I'm not sure